Gentleman yields. I now recognize Mr. Giménez from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And on January 29th, I had a meeting with Secretary Mayorkas where I asked a number of simple questions. He was upset that I was amazed that he didn't have the answer, but he said he had the answer right at his fingertips. So on the 31st, I sent him a letter saying, according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, over 4.5 million migrants encounters have occurred at the southwest border since President Biden took office. How many of those individuals encountered are currently residing in the United States, and where are they residing? What is the process for choosing location to release individuals, and what sort of information is given to those local authorities? Second question, how many of these individuals have authorized work permits? Do those who receive work permits receive federal government assistance? If so, how many, and how much per individual? Do those individuals who do not have authorized work permits receive federal government assistance? If so, how many, and how much per individual? And finally, according to CBP sources, over 1.2 million known gotaways have evaded the CBP. How many of those have since been located by CBP? What are the current steps being taken by the Department of Homeland Security in processing individuals who have been captured and detained, and how many immigrants who were unknown to DHS have been detained and departed over the past 2 years? He said he had all that information. I asked for the answer to come back in about a week. I've sent this on January 31st. Mr. Chairman, I've yet to receive a response from something that apparently they had at their fingertips. But luckily for me, today I got a call from a friend of mine who has some of the answers. And here are some of the answers. And he said that he was speaking to a friend of ours or a friend of his down in Miami who's recently sent $20,000 to Cuba to have a migrant come over to Mexico, and then they were transported across the borders. So it was $20,000. When the migrant came across, he was immediately given a cell phone, he was given a plane ticket, and he was given $1,600 a month for 6 months in federal assistance. And now, since he hasn't answered me, now I got to multiply 4.7 million times $1,600 times 6 months. It's costing the U.S. taxpayer something north of $45 billion. So it definitely impacted the United States of America. And I want to shift gears here. And Ms. Reisling, I really sympathize with what happened to you personally. I had a death in my family about 4 years ago from drug overdoses. I used to be a paramedic in the city of Miami, where we saw a lot of drug overdoses due to heroin. Never saw anything like fentanyl and the deadly, deadly kind of a drug that fentanyl is. Now, you're absolutely right. Fentanyl has killed, drug overdoses have skyrocketed. Over 100,000 Americans, probably per year, are dying of fentanyl. Now, can you imagine if a foreign adversary came across the border every single day, killed 200 Americans, and then scurried back, across the border? How we would react to something like that? Well, it's happening every single day. And we have a terrorist organizations, which are the Mexican drug cartels, which are profiting immensely from human trafficking. Where before, in the Trump administration, they made about $500 million a year. Now they're making $13 billion a year on human trafficking. But worse than that, they're killing Americans. Over a little bit over 20 years ago, a terrorist organization came over, killed about 3,000 Americans, and we went and traveled 15,000 miles and waged 15 years of war to get rid of that terrorist organization. We're doing absolutely nothing about a terrorist organization that's killing far more Americans every single year, and we're doing nothing about it. And so, I asked the Secretary of the director of the FBI if he considered them to be a terrorist organization. And I guess because of some bureaucracy, we just can't label them a terrorist organization. But, we should be doing a heck of a lot more. We should be making them pay for what they're doing to us. And while I agree of an all-and-above solution to our drug problem here with the users, et cetera, I also think that the people that are supplying that weapon that's killing 100,000 Americans every year need to pay the price. And thank you. I yield my time back.